Man, what is good? What is good? This is Mike with Beats and Vinyl, and I'm coming with a different video this time. I'm actually going to do a review on an album that's probably the hottest thing in hip hop circles right now, and it's the collaboration of DJ Premier and the GOAT, one of the GOATs, Nas. The album is called Light Years. And when the record came out, or I shouldn't say record, but when the release came last Friday, it kind of kicked off a bit of a civil war in hip hop, which is very interesting. You had the battle of the old heads and the newer kids. I consider myself an old head. I'm 52 years old. I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up listening to Premier. I've been listening to DJ Premier since 1989. Yeah, 35 years. Oh, really? Well, 36 years now. So I'm familiar with that backdrop. The younger kids are probably coming from a different perspective, and that's their right. I don't have any ill feelings about that. But I wanted to just touch on the album a little bit, maybe do kind of a semi-review and just my opinion and of the situation that we're looking at within hip hop. But again, the album is called Light Years. This has been in the making for 20 years. Now, the kind of little bit of history, DJ Premier was one half of the famed group Gang Starr. God rest in peace to the legend of Guru. But they had a series of mind-blowing albums in the 90s, coming into the early 2000s when they stopped recording together. Nas is a phenomenal MC out of Queens, New York, and he kind of burst onto the scene back in 1990 on an album by a group called The Main Source, and there was a song called Live at the Barbecue. And Nas, it was like a posse record. That's what they called it back then. A bunch of people jump on the record. And Nas was this 17, 18-year-old kid saying some incredible stuff. And that kicked off a buzz to hear more from him. And a few years later, he dropped probably one of the most classic debuts in hip hop history, an album called Illmatic. And that album wound up being basically a template of what we would consider that style of new hip hop, and he ushered in a whole new style. And Nas had an incredible run in the 90s, and he went through his trials and tribulations. Everybody wanted him to keep making Illmatic. I look at Nas almost kind of like I look at Miles Davis. Everybody wanted him to keep making Kinda Blue, but everybody wanted Nas to keep making Illmatic. And he just, but he changed, he evolved. But the one thing about Nas, he's always been an incredible storyteller. And the one thing about DJ Premier, he is a master of what we call more of the cut and paste kind of production, or stabs. What he would do is he wouldn't take like full loops. He would use loops, but he wouldn't take a full loop. He would take a horn here or a string here, and he'll manipulate it in a way and put these powerful bopping drums on top of it, and that became his sound. If you ever listen to the song Kick in the Door by the late Notorious B.I.G., that's Premier's style. Listen to a lot of the Gang Starr stuff, Just to Get a Rep, Royalty. Those are those Premier bangers, So when Nas and Premier got together and did New York State of Mind for Illmatic, that kind of kicked off a very beautiful relationship, and it wanted us wanting more. And they had success with that. There was another song called Nas is Like. One of my favorite collaborations they did was a song called I Gave You Power, where basically Nas is talking from the perspective of being a gun. Incredible song. Highly recommend you listen to it. But somewhere along the line, everybody gets busy. Premier was doing his thing, Nas was doing his thing, And there was always this thought of them making an album together. So about 20 years ago, there was this whole thing, they were gonna make a record. And it was like it never happened. It never was gonna happen. You know, Nas was out here, now he's a mogul, he's out here owning companies and doing all kind of stuff. Premier is still doing his thing, producing, and he's got his own ventures as well. So it felt like it was never gonna come together. Then just out of the blue, you start hearing rumblings. And it's like, oh, they just probably teasing. And last Friday, December 12th, I believe, it dropped. It dropped. And when it hit the streets, there was a complete divide. There were people who absolutely loved the record, and there were people who absolutely did not like it. And I was really perplexed. And I've listened to it twice. The first time I listened to it, I was like, okay. Yeah, okay. But I listened to it again, and now as an older man, I used to listen to music when I would be in the car driving around. That's how I would hear things. Now that I'm older, I listen to music doing yard work. I'm just a middle-aged man now. But I put on my headphones. I was out in the yard. It was a nice day, Saturday, and just really listened to it. And I was able to kind of hear the record for what it is. And there are songs that I think that DJ Premier, it may not have worked, but Nas is such a strong storyteller and such a strong MC, he made it work. There's a song on there that kicks off the record, it's called Underground. And it's a very, it's kind of a rock and rollish kind of a song, but he's talking about underground things, but the music doesn't really strike me as something that I'm thinking that's underground. It's more of a rock and roll kind of a thing. So I don't know, maybe that might have been what they were going for. Maybe that might have been a thought, but Nas, his lyrical game is incredible. And right now, and just like I would look at a blues artist or a jazz artist that's gotten older, it gives you insight of where they are now. Nas is talking about everything from, investments in cryptocurrency. He's talking about gentrification in New York City. He's talking about, maturing into a particular man, a man of wisdom. He's talking about battling his old self. There's a lot of things that he's touching on, and Premier's right in the mix. Some of one of my favorite songs, a song called Sons. He's talking about the joy of having a son, the joy of young black men coming of age and speaking life into young men. I thought that song is powerful, and I think Premier had this incredible backdrop. It wasn't complex, it wasn't all over the place. It was just a good loop, good soulful bed for Nas to tell his story. Another song that I like is called Writers. Writers is kind of a throwback to Wild Style. Wild Style, the infamous movie that came out in the early 80s, talking about graffiti artists. Well, Writers is Nas playing homage to graffiti artists. So you see where Premier is using the bridge of those old break beats and putting it next to Nas's storytelling. It worked beautiful, man. Beautiful. The only thing that I've been noticing a little bit with Premier, sometimes you kind of get stuck in a thing where that's just, he likes to do the stabs and he'll roll with that. But I'm like, I just want to see a little bit more growth, just a little bit different. Maybe that's just not it. Maybe I'm tripping. I like Sons the most. but I didn't like New York State of Mind. I didn't like it. I just thought that the beat that Premier used, it didn't fit for me, for my ears, for how I want to see the story of Nas talking about New York present day, and the bed that Premier was using. It didn't click. Just for me, it didn't click for me. Does it make it a bad album? No, I don't think so. There was just certain songs that I didn't get. Another song that I really think is dope is called Time. It's Time, where he flips the old Steve Miller song, Fly Like an Eagle, and dope flip. I loved it. Premier got that bop, and Nas went on and put some great lyrics on it. But you know, overall, I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I think it's a solid, good album. For 20 years of waiting, I think Nas and Premier finally put this to bed. I think it was been a long time coming. I think Nas was like, "Hey man, when we gonna get together?" And Premier said, "Yeah man, when we gonna get together? Hey, I tell you what, you got some time in April? Well, I got some time in April." And they just went on and got together, got in the lab, and made it happen. I don't think it was some type of strategic thing that they sat on for 2-3 years and worked on it. I just think they found time in their schedules. They got together, got in the lab, and made it happen. And that's okay, And I think there's a problem sometimes within us as human beings consuming art. We want this thing where we want this instant classic. We want this instant feel good. But if you really think about it, the classics that we've enjoyed, wasn't really feeling them when they first came out. They kind of over time became something to us. I remember reading an interview or reading a lot of the press clippings when Stevie Wonder released Songs in the Key of Life. Now, Songs in the Key of Life is considered one of Stevie Wonder's greatest albums, right? But when the album came out, a lot of people was like, it's all right, it's okay. But over time, that album got played at barbecues, that album got played at just cooling out at the house, that album got played cleaning up the house, that album got played riding in a car, that album, it went from vinyl to CD, and people brought it again. And what happens, albums like that, they grow and they become a part of you. And that's what makes them classics. So at this point, I can't call it a classic, but I won't say that it's a miss. Just a couple things. My whole thing is, some songs just seem like they matched. But that's just my ear. Just as a person that likes to try to make beats, I think my approach to New York State of Mind probably would have been a little different. That's just me though. Primo has got more talent in his toe than I got my whole body. You know what I'm saying? So I would never challenge any cat on how he makes his beats. But salute the Nas and Premier, man. I enjoyed the album, and I enjoy this time of hip hop. I enjoy seeing our legends get back in the game and make these records. The Pete and Common, LL got back out there. De La Soul just put out Cabin in the Sky. I think that's one of the better albums of 2025, my personal opinion. And Nas and Premier, they put out a solid work. So for me, hey, I'm gonna buy the album when it come out just to support their movement and what's going on with them. And man, if you're a hip hop head, just buy it, man. We got to stop getting into these things where we have these weird expectations and we want the record to be the best thing ever, man. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the fact that these two guys, they got together, because there are a lot of acts that didn't get together and it was too late. I'm glad that Tribe Called Quest got together one more time before Phife transitioned on. I hate that Guru and Premier never made another record together. I hate that Pete Rock and CL Smooth, they probably won't make another record together. Little Brother, Knife Wonder, there's people that I wish would make another record, but it's probably never going to happen. But that's okay. You have to take it for what it is, and you move on, man. You move on. But salute the Nas and the great DJ Premier light years. Hey man, if you must cop that thing, cop it, buy it, buy it, buy it. You know, you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. Like I said, I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I think it's a very good album for some seasoned industry veterans giving a new story about what it is to be at this space in your life as far as hip hop. So with that being said, man, I'm gonna get out the way. It was great rapping with you guys. Be back again at a later date. Holler at y'all soon. Have a happy and safe and blessed holiday season. Peace.